both candidates have, in many cases, very similar views on making the U.S. even stronger.
But you deploy capital differently under
Yes.
President Trump than under President Harris.
On the margin, not
that much?
No, I think we over-conflate.
Okay.
That is the CEO of the single largest asset manager in the world, Larry Fink. You may know them as BlackRock, and he's telling you your presidential vote is meaningless. He's also partially correct. The spectrum of choice has become so limited that in national elections, you're almost always forced to select a candidate who will put capital, the rich, above all else. For us, it's often a race of who will hurt the working class less. This lack of choice in your life isn't just in our political systems, it's in our economic day-to-day. The working class is struggling just to survive. Debt delinquencies are at the highest point since the pandemic, grocery prices are soaring, rent rapidly rising, and home ownership diminishing. Further, the form in which we purchase has changed such that we rent more than we purchase. Your car payment, your phone plan, Netflix, Spotify, even the heated seats in the very vehicle you lease. These payments in isolation feel manageable, but linked together they form a chain that shackles you in place, tied to a situation where the rich slowly extract record wealth from you on a quarterly basis. The foundation in which this economic situation is emerging begs the question, have we entered an era beyond capitalism? To some economists and scholars, the answer is yes, and the implications here are terrifying. That capitalism is dead, and these guys killed it. And rising from the grave is something far more nefarious. It's called technofeudalism. You know the phrase, you'll own nothing and be happy. Yet, its origins might surprise you. Published by Ida Aachen in a 2016 World Economic Forum essay, she highlights a potential emancipatory and equitable world where people's fundamental needs are met in lieu of a growing 21st century economy focused on service rather than production and consumption. Despite the butchering of the phrase's meaning, the feeling of unease is understandable. There is something slightly ominous even in the phrase's structure, its form. The juxtaposition of nothingness, emptiness, a void, sentenced together with happiness. It's the uncanny valley of phrases. Yet, there's currently two visions in how that phrase can be interpreted. A positive approach where public commons ensure everyone's needs are met and people are free to pursue life without the fear of homelessness or starvation, while a darker interpretation can be seen as this technofeudalism. Medieval feudalism was a simple system. Lords owned the land, serfs labored and developed it, while the lord took the majority share for himself. If the serfs didn't like this arrangement, they would starve or be excommunicated. While it sounds like an exaggeration, we're witnessing this today. So, what is technofeudalism, and how is it different than capitalism? Technofeudalism was coined by Yanis Varoufakis, detailed in his book, Technofeudalism: What Killed Capitalism. Varoufakis is an economist and former Greek finance minister. He makes a compelling argument that for the first time, capitalism regressed into an economic system where platforms, not markets, are organizing labor power. But its organization of labor doesn't produce. It's raw extraction via rent. To understand his point, we need to make it clear capitalism broadly operates under a market of profit-seeking from the exchange and creation of goods and services, fueled by wage labor. To Varoufakis, we're seeing executively controlled platforms replace markets. Think app stores charging you 30% of all revenue. Me making this video on YouTube for free with the potential for ad revenue, yet under the threat it can be demonetized at any point. The The owners of these platforms aren't creating anything except the digital platform itself. Traditional markets rely on the production and exchange of goods and services. With modern platforms, instead of production and exchange, we have rent. Wealth extraction of the user base's labor and behavior, and it's executively controlled by these guys.
Question about work-life balance all the time from both ends of the spectrum. And my view is I don't even like the phrase work-life balance. I think it's misleading. I like the phrase work-life harmony.
Today, Google, Meta, Amazon, Uber, Airbnb don't create goods and services. They rent you access to customers or content. Because of how powerful these platforms are, like a serf, many are forced to till the proverbial digital soil of these platforms if they want to survive in a given industry. You want customers? You must sell your product on Amazon. You want your business to grow? Post on Instagram. And if you need employment, you let Uber contract and sell you potential riders. And this phenomenon is something we are now calling employment. No healthcare, no benefits, no time off, all under the banner of freedom, of self-entrepreneurship. But as anyone who drives Uber or DoorDash know, this is bullshit.
Do you know how much a passenger pays for each trip?
Company, they don't tell us, they try to hiding with that. Yes, they try to hiding everything.
So it seems the majority of my money is not going into my driver's pocket. And my driver has no knowledge of the exorbitant price I'm paying or how much of that the company is taking. And we're all just okay with that? The answer I got at the Denver International Airport from drivers and customers was a resounding no.
This leads us to a new economic engine, the heart of technofeudalism, cloud capital. It's not merely digital assets or wealth that lives in the quote-unquote cloud, but very physical entities such as data centers, fiber optic lines, the very infrastructure that allows for platforms to exist. While cloud capital sounds like a core asset seen in our traditional concept of capital, say a factory or materials, cloud capital is different in that it's only set up for extraction. It doesn't even contain the ability to produce. A good analogy is the following. For a textile factory, an owner needs to purchase cotton, machinery to weave it, employees for labor, and the factory itself. It then produces goods. In technofeudalism, our quote-unquote tech lords may only need to build a data center, but they still need the makings of traditional capital, such as labor and material. And yet, once the data center is built, it parasitically leaches from communities, from power grids, and it harnesses political capital, granting tax breaks, striking deals with local governments to offset electricity costs on residents, and then pollutes and harms those very local communities. Yet, the only output of a data center is a platform that controls and extracts. Just like a feudal lord extracting rent from serfs and their fiefdom, controlling you, dictating your behaviors, your livelihood, all on top of an infrastructure you paid for. And this infrastructure relies on your data, logging your purchasing habits, your whereabouts, your personal relationships. And one way to deny them this data is with a VPN. Yet, not all VPNs are made equal. Some do log your data, compromise your privacy. That's where Surfshark VPN comes in. Surfshark has an explicit log-free policy, meaning they do not store or log your traffic. On top of upping your privacy, a good VPN can help you access region-locked parts of the internet, shows that are geographically locked on a streaming service, and even help you find cheaper airline tickets. A VPN can play a large role in denying tech oligarchs a large portion of our data and making the internet a safer place. Better yet, you can try Surfshark with a 30-day money-back guarantee. On top of this, if you use the code Epoch at checkout or the link at surfshark.com/epoch, you get 4 additional months free. Thanks to Surfshark for graciously helping us make this video possible. So, how did we get here? To Varoufakis, the origin starts in the 2008 global financial crisis, and when the United States sought to save capitalism from itself.
CBS News Special Report, a presidential address to the nation.
Good evening. This is an extraordinary period for America's economy. Over the past few weeks, many Americans have felt anxiety about their finances and their future. We've seen triple-digit swings in the stock market. Major financial institutions have teetered on the edge of collapse, and some have failed.
In 2008, George Bush and America's Congress passed the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act of 2008, commonly known as the bank bailout, where financial institutions were given nearly $1 trillion in taxpayers' money to help save them from the disaster they caused.
Traders here working the phone say a lot of their customers are freaked out, waiting to see how low the Dow will go.
The banks were failing, investment plummeted. From the hyper-commodification of housing and deregulation of banks created a firestorm that collapsed under its own weight. In 1999, this guy passed legislation that would repeal the Glass-Steagall Act, a 1933 regulation that forced the separation of investment and commercial banking. Commercial banks were what we know as normal banks, where you would deposit your checks, help you store your money, etc., while investment banks or firms invest for long-term future growth. Keeping these entities separate meant the banks where you would deposit your paycheck couldn't invest, or more accurately, gamble with your money to potentially lose it. You see where this is going. Throughout the 2000s, commercial banks were granting subprime mortgage loans for homes people could not afford, a practice that would have been illegal before 1999, and in 2008, it stopped American capitalism in its tracks.
The state of our economy calls for action, bold and swift, and we will act, not only to create new jobs, but to lay a new foundation for growth. We will build the roads and bridges, the electric grids and digital lines that feed our commerce and bind us together.
After the bailouts passed under Bush, Obama then passed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009. The federal government took a Keynesian approach of public investment into various programs that would also benefit working or middle-class Americans. But under the surface, something else was happening. Bush's bailout bill allowed legacy industries and finance and other sectors to buy back stocks for record low prices, enriching executives in companies and centralizing control. While Obama's stimulus plan wasn't the same explicit bailout seen under Bush, there were stipulations to help normal people, but those were all side objectives with the ultimate plan of, quote, stimulating the economy, which is short for enriching the same rich people who got us here. His stimulus plan saw massive public investment in digital infrastructure such as fiber lines, granting this cloud capital to these corporations with American taxpayer money. Thus, the state facilitated what we now know as big tech and the creation of this cloud capital. Yet, we've only scratched the surface of what technofeudalism entails. The reality is, its project is much more vast, and the implications will be felt for decades to come.
Moving them on through the heart of LA.
There's a political angle to technofeudalism we have yet to touch on. Despite the common myth of capitalism as a system inherently separate from the state, in realities, economies in the state have a long history of colluding together and making each other stronger. Yet, the United States, in 2025, stands alone as one of the largest examples among a historical few. I'll give you a hint where else we've seen this. Technofeudalism might describe the economic arrangement, but a new descriptor of our political reality is popping up. In the same verbiage, technofascism has been coined. Like traditional fascism, a far-right, authoritarian, anti-democratic, and nationalist ideology that molds corporation and state under a unified umbrella, we're seeing this play out in a new lens with US tech corporations. That sounds far-fetched. Hear this. Palantir, OpenAI, and Meta executives were just sworn in as lieutenant colonels in the United States Army. You heard that right. Technology executives are now officers in the US military. Yes, that's a very real thing. This isn't just corporate cozying to the US state for the benefit of shareholders' value and profit, though. While someone like Mark Zuckerberg may never have an authentic, non-opportunistic thought in his life, and is happy to switch when things benefit him, in the case of Palantir, people like Peter Thiel and Alex Karp have both expressed deeply nationalist and supremacist sentiments. The intention of reactionary ideological projects go even deeper with Peter Thiel. Here's a clip of him at a 2010 Libertarian conference.
The basic idea was that we could never win an election on getting certain things because we were in such a small minority. But maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through a technological means. And this is where I think technology is this incredible alternative to politics.
What Thiel means by replacing politics with technology is replacing democracy with technology, using it to overthrow the means of collective power. No more consensus. No more democratic coalition between groups. The goal being, the ones who control technology are the ones who control everything. Since Reagan, we have seen the myth of small government and privatization to consolidate state power. But the Trump administration has taken this to another level. Just this year, after the economy froze, we saw Trump full-throatedly admitting to using his tariff threats to enrich billionaires and groups close to the White House.
And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad, because he's in financial.
A system of technofeudalism accomplishes the political aim of demagogues while enriching existing oligarchs. Control is the point, and there is no better way to do this than keeping people poor. And one way you do that is by destroying ownership. There's a few ways ownership is under attack here. The obvious way is the actual ownership of goods. Your home, your vehicle, your phone, your food, even your education and retirement. We were promised the market and 401ks could facilitate a greater retirement than pensions. And yet, now the top 10% richest own 93% of the entire stock market. The other attack on ownership is of yourself, your esteem. The point isn't just to take everything from you, but to strip you of your agency, the expectation of you as a human being. This contrasts capitalism's hyper-individualism, where corporations can sell upon this idea of a cohesive self. In America, you buy a large truck while almost never using it for its intended purpose. You buy Apple products upon the marketing gimmick it's different, polished and colorfully refined compared to the generic feeling of Android and personal computers. In order to profit, capitalism must facilitate a strong, independent view of self. Ironically, the tech companies that promoted themselves as places where workers would be able to nurture their independence, where conformity was never expected, facilitated in offices filled with beanbag chairs. Those very places created this technofeudalism, an economic ideology that seeks to flatten human existence. The relationship and adherence to an undemocratic state is a perfect marriage. The technology rapidly developing is becoming powerful tools of surveillance. Facebook, Google, all creating explicit maps of your life. Palantir and the Trump administration creating a master database on all US citizens, which, if that sounds unbelievably absurd, we covered that in a video linked above. Like all Goliaths, though, they eventually fall. We've operated under the presupposition technofeudalism is a separate system from capitalism. There's debate to be had that technofeudalism isn't something inherently new, but an incredibly weak phase of late-stage capitalism. While I won't entertain that debate here, we should note that technofeudalism cannot manipulate in the same way as capitalism. Rather than promising you wealth at the end of the tunnel, technofeudalism transparently siphons everything from you. It gives you less than what is needed to survive, with no future promise of something better. Just a shallow elaboration that you're more free driving DoorDash than working a traditional union job. An idea so preposterous, not even drivers believe. Capitalism cannot afford to not make promises. It must manipulate and lie to survive. And right now, in 2025, that belief is at an all-time low. Technofeudalism does not have the same propagandistic capabilities as capitalism. It's far too transparent. Capitalism can sell lies to you for decades. It can sell ideals. Yet in technofeudalism, the only real ideal it can sell you is subservience. This is good news for us. The further good news is that platforms present a single point of failure. Data centers present a single point of failure. State and corporate consolidation present a single point of failure. It's incredible how unstable of a foundation technofeudalism lays upon. In 2025, this problem is further compounded by AI, the hilarious short-term goal of corporate executives who think AI can replicate human labor in the short term. This system is doomed to fail as soon as workers can effectively organize and labor can be rescinded. If technofeudalism truly is a system beyond capitalism, one thing is for certain: it will be a far less stable system than capitalism and the prior feudal system before it. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. I have a huge request. With YouTube's ever-restricting view on what's ad-safe, these videos are always a risk to make. Because of this, these videos are only made possible by the kind people over on Patreon and our website. If you enjoy these videos, consider pledging just a few dollars a month. It literally means the survival of the channel. Before we go, I want to give a special shout out to these patrons: Cedric Watman, Jay Roberts, Billy Egregor, and Tona Kadene. You both have gone above and beyond, and I appreciate it beyond words. To the rest, I hope to see you in the next.